Hello everybody, Reggie Time here again with another session of 20NL on Sky Poker, and I think this is where I'm going to focus most of my videos here on in 20NL and below on recreational sites. I've kind of been thinking about this for a little while now, and I've got a young man who's in the process of just building me a pretty small website that's going to be a host some of my videos on, my host my contact information, that sort of thing, just like a point of contact more than anything else. But I want the focus on it to be geared very much towards people playing for fun who want to get better at poker without without feeling that they need to have a degree in maths to do it, or a degree in game theory, or they don't want poker to be some huge sort of like mathematical acrobatics. Understand maths is part of poker. We can't get away from that. But I mean, we see on the forums all the time these days, and a lot of the guys who I talk to and who I help with the poker, they use poker forums obviously because that's how I make contact with them. But they don't want to do all the mathematical acrobatics that go with it. They just want to kind of know, what should I do in X, Y, and Z situation most of the time. And I'm aware that people could argue, well, that's just trying to standardise our game and etc. But that's not. I think you have to be in the conversation to understand that's not what people are asking for. They just kind of want to know what's going on in the games, really, and they want to know in what situations perhaps should they be looking to not pay off, or in what situations can they bluff. They just want answers to scenarios, not specific questions. And we can go to the far end of a fart to describe it. We can put all sorts of equations and complicated procedures into place, or we can just try and break it down and simplify it into layman's terms. Because a lot of guys, they go to work all day, they come home at night, they put the kids to bed, they just want to play poker for a couple of hours, smoke a cigar, or have a glass of wine or a beer or a coffee, and they just want to chill out. But they don't want to be getting their ass handed to them every single time they log in. So they need to decide, defend themselves against that happening. So that's kind of where I want to be. As a poker coach, I'm not there. I'm not the person for the hardcore grinders, for the people who want to learn super quick and then learn all about 3-bet, 4-bet, 5-bet ranges, etc. That's not my niche. It never has been, and it never will be. And the more I get into the coaching, the more people I work with, the more I identify with the people that I want to get involved with. So that's where I'm going to take the direction of the site. Hopefully it'll be going live in the next week, and that's when I'm going to take the direction of my videos in future. They're going to be not at a low level. That would be unfair to say they're going to be at a low level and aimed at low level players. Would be unfair. It would be disrespectful to those guys. But it's certainly going to be aimed more towards recreational players and the problems recreational players have in their games, rather than me trying my hardest to desperately explain some quite complicated situations to people who are watching my videos who probably aren't even asked about it, to be completely honest. I wouldn't imagine too many highly skilled 5NL up and coming future 200NL grinders are watching my videos. Maybe some of you are, but I'm kind of getting the impression that the demographic of people who are watching my videos are more people like me. Early middle-aged poker players who love poker, but they're not super into the incredibly technical side of it. I'm not going to see bet this board, by the way. It's low wet. We have no equity if we get called, or very little equity if we get called. That turn's not going to encourage me to bet the turn. So yeah, that's kind of where they're going to be aimed at. And if you're wanting high level content, or you're wanting a lot of technical aspects of poker's talked about, my channel, my videos aren't going to be your cup of tea. But that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Because you're not the kind of person I'm going to be aiming at. So with that in mind, I've no idea what I'm going to title this. I might even call it a series. It might just continue to just use whatever it is I'm playing. 20NL on Sky Poker, 8NL on Sky Poker, whatever. We don't need any fancy titles. And kind of changing away from all that, I'm going to just really try and simplify everything I do. From the coaching that I do, from the videos that I produce, from the dumb titles I give videos sometimes. And yeah, hopefully when the new website launches, I'll be able to just find my little niche. And just hopefully help new players along, help older players who've finally decided, shit, I'm sick of losing £100-200 a month at this game, which is where I was maybe 7 years ago, who just want to just equip themselves better to at least compete. And that's kind of where I'm going to go with it. So with that 6-minute preamble gone, let's get more into it, and let's try and discuss what recreational players should be looking for when they're playing. The first thing is they'll be looking to try and play in good games. If you are a recreational player who just wants to play, 9 to 11 before you go to bed, get the kids to bed, right, come on, let's fire the poker up. You don't need to be playing, well, first of all, you don't need to be considering rewards at all. You're not going to ever make any kind of, well, not ever, I should never say ever, but at the kind of stakes that I'm suspecting you're going to be playing, you're not going to make any fancy VIP levels on any site. Rakeback should not be any kind of consideration for you. What your consideration should be is playing in games where there's some players that are worse than you, some players of similar ability, some players that are maybe better, help you improve a little bit, or just to give a good mix to the game, because you're never going to find a table where you're better than every player, or rarely going to find a table where you're better than every player. And you should be focusing on just playing the amount of tables you can mentally cope with, without kind of finding everything going blurry and woolly to you. And maybe over time you can add tables. Maybe you just start with 2 tables and then try 3. But there will come a point where everything will just seem like a blur to you. You'll end your session and you'll think, I don't remember anything that happened in that session. When that happens to you, you're probably playing too many tables. You need to remain sharp and focused. And then you will reduce the edge that the regulars have over you. If you're always playing 2 tables and you're maybe just a couple of notches behind a regular, but that regular's playing 16 tables, now you're going to be able to maybe have a better win rate than him in that game. Sure, he's going to have a better hourly rate than you are, but you have a better win rate than him. And you're going to find out more about him than he's going to know about you, because you're going to be watching everything he does, and he's only going to really be seeing what you do when he's in a hand with you, or when he just happens to not have much to do and randomly see a showdown. So that's the first thing that we can be doing. Let's just watch what's going on here. We're going to have to presume Ouija's got a really strong hand here. He's taking an incredibly strong line on the river. There's no real bluffs he can have. And so there, for example, it's not going to help us much now. But we can make a note that, Martin maybe raises for thin value / bluffs on rivers. And he can be made to fold sometimes. So maybe we have a note, something along the lines of raise river, and it was ace, queen, x, 7, x7, something like that, and fold to 3-bet. Which doesn't mean anything in a vacuum, but what it does mean is we're going to give his river races less respect. If we're ever in a thin spot on the river where we bet he's raised us, because typically we'll be folding to river races in micro stakes poker. That's kind of what we want to be doing most of the time. But once you find somebody like Martin who raises clearly without the nuts there as you did then, and maybe you can consider not always folding to Martin. So just little things like that you just take notice of that you maybe wouldn't notice if you're playing extra tables. They're all going to add money to your bottom line over the course of a year, and that will add up to hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And that's really nice. Imagine if you just have a few extra £100 at Christmas, or a few extra £100 for your kid's birthday, something like that. You might never really notice it, but yeah, it will add up. You'll either lose hundreds of pounds less over the year, or you'll start making a few pounds here and there that you weren't making. It doesn't really matter where the money comes from. It could be saving some losses. It can be starting to make profits, and when you previously weren't making profits. We're rooting for a club here, were we? And we didn't get one. So it doesn't matter where your reduced losses come from or extra profits come from. None of that matters. Just improving at poker in general is going to improve your net from poker. Whether that means now you start, instead of losing £100 a week, maybe you go down to breaking even, or it's losing just £20 a week. I mean, it's all very significant. It might not feel like it is, but it is all significant. As Mike Carroll once said, money saved is as good as money won. So yeah, you need to be taking all kinds of things into account. This table 1 now is, unless Martin reloads, it's looking like a pretty dreadful table. They just look like all regulars to me. I haven't got them all tagged, but I'm aware of Cyberdog. I've played with him before. He's never noticed him get out of line. I'm not at all aware of Yumi, so we'll wait a little while for Yumi. In fact, we'll tag Cyberdog as a regular because I'm just pretty confident that he is. Oh, the first playable hand 12 minutes in. Or first good hand 12 minutes into the video. Hopefully Rita will go for some kind of isolation race here, and unfortunately not. There's just an over limp, so I'm just going to make a big raise. We're playing out of position. We don't particularly, Kings is the sort of hand that you don't particularly want to play against 3 players, sorry. We've got as good a flop as we can hope to get. You see people here saying we need to bet, a balanced amount. I would never see bet this board as a bluff, so I couldn't give a flying fig about balance. If I wanted to have some bluffs on this board, maybe I would bet smaller. But because I'm just not going to be bluffing this board very often at all, if ever, and I've got a potential weak player in the pot, Dundee John's loose passive so far, who can just call with all kinds of draws and Jack X. I'm just going to make some really large bets. I mean, I'll be pretty horrified if he raises now me. I mean, it's not going to be good. There's a good chance we're going to be beat here, but you can still just have Queen Jack, Ace Jack, things like that. Of course, he can have sets too, but we can't fold. So in it goes, and he does have the Ace Jack. So there we go, lovely jubbly, getting the job done. And I think that's like, not sure how many hands we played tonight so far, but it's not many. And we've still got tons of action. That's going to happen if you're in good games. You can sit good games, you can play pretty tight, and the weaker players will just pay you. All you need to do in poker is have someone have a half decent hand against you when you've got a slightly better hand. That's where nearly all your profits are going to come from in poker. I don't care whether you are one of the best players in the world or not. That's pretty much where most of everyone's profit comes from. People might not want to hear it. People might like to kid themselves that there's some sort of super sicko player who can turn profits with all kinds of miserable holdings. And maybe they can in individual hands, but long term, I mean, if they're taking the whatever it is, the 8-5 suited, and thinking they're showing a profit with it, they maybe are, maybe they're not. But all that happens in poker generally is we play a bunch of hands and we kind of break even with most of them, and we make all our profit with aces, kings, queen, ace, king, pocket jacks, pocket tens. We kind of make it goes back to the whole Phil Hellmuth's concept of, his top 10 hands. I mean, that's going too far, don't get me wrong. But he's definitely in something, he's onto something, because there's not that many hands that turn a profit long term in poker. Check it out on your database. Check it out, check out the whole cards. See how many crap ones you turn a profit with. There'll be some, because there'll be some that you've just managed to randomly win some big pots with that are skewing it. But overall, it's going to be all the good cards, all the good hands, all the good starting hand combinations that you're making most of your money from. And the rest of it is just what we do, plodding along until we get one of those hands, and then we hope someone has a slightly worse hand than us. That's kind of what's happening most of the time. So, yep. There will be some people that would vehemently disagree with me there. These people are wrong. Image. I think, who was it I once watched? Someone watched a podcast or a training video, and they said something along the lines of image is one of the most overrated things in poker. And I think they're right. He said that if you spent, something like 2 or 3 extra minutes on game selection, rather than spending hours on developing your image, you'd make a lot more money at poker. And again, I just really subscribe to that theory. Extra minutes spent at the start of a session on good game selection is going to be worth way more to your bottom line long term than developing some super laggy image and spending countless hours on devising the perfect 3-betting range against somebody who falls at 69% of 3-bets or whatever. All that bullshit that people like to get on with. That it has value if you're in tough games, because it has to. If you're in tough games, you need to know all that stuff. My contention is, game select a little bit better, and then you won't need to learn all that stuff because you're just being good games. And if you want to end up playing 200 nil or whatever, 400 nil, you'll need to learn that shit. But I don't think you'll ever need to learn it if you're going to be happy. Just going to raise here just to make Q-Frag folds, get the pot heads up against Phantoma. If you're going to be happy playing 100 nil or lower for most of your poker life, you don't need to learn all that. You need to learn how to game select. That's what's going to help you the most. So this table 1, it's been pretty dull from the word go, but I'm hoping that the 2 new players now can. Well, table 2's been dull too, save for the kings. But again, this is what's going to happen in poker. You spend a lot of time at poker with not much happening, which I guess is why people add, hundreds, well not hundreds, but people add like more and more and more tables. It's just to higher the frequency that they get dealt the good cards. It doesn't really change anything. Poker is about patience, it's about discipline. I think where poker started, it started as people playing live on one table, and a lot of good players made a lot of money being able to do that. Let me just think about this with Phantoma. My hand's just a bluff catcher, but he's pricing it where I can afford to bluff catch right now. Pretty quick bet on the river. Again, my hand is just a bluff catcher. I'm not going to pay him off on this instance. A slightly better kicker with my king, maybe I would. King queen or something, I'd probably call, but king 2 is just a little too weak. So yeah, it's the thing where poker come from. What I try and do in my poker is I try and recreate that environment of where people were making poker 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, hell even 5 years ago maybe. Maybe not 5 years ago now, but something like that. I'm just trying to recreate that environment, and that environment was a good player with an edge playing poker against players that are significantly worse than him. That's what that environment was. That environment doesn't exist now on a lot of sites online. You can still manufacture it if you're not somebody who needs to play high volume. If you're not somebody who relies on poker for your income, and you just want to develop poker as a little sideline or as just a monetized hobby, you don't need to recreate. You can just recreate that environment and be perfectly happy with it. And maybe you nick £100 a week. Not physically nick it, of course, but maybe you can nick £100 a week out of the games. And that's going to be good for a lot of people. There'll be a lot of players that So we had up and down that they're better than you, that aren't nicking 100 quid a week and working a lot harder for you, a lot harder than you for it. But it just depends what you want. And as I said at the start of the video, my personal strategy and my focus now as a coach and as a video producer is going to be on the types of players that want to follow my way into it. I don't really want to appeal. I don't really want to be finding work with people who want to be like mass tabling. I think I can still be of some use to those players just by adding it. Well, this guy's donking again, which is going to fold. We got even worse on this time. I can think of still be of use to them players to provide like an alternative point of view to them for things for them to bounce off. I'm not saying I don't want to work with them. What I'm saying is I don't think these are the people I'm trying to appeal to anymore. And you know, I've got some people in my coaching group now who very much fit that mold. Some young guys, 25 and Zoom players, and yeah, I talk to them a lot about poker. And to be fair, they listen. They don't always agree with everything that I say, but what they all say is I do provide a good sounding board for them, and I give them plenty to think about, even though, I mean, we don't talk very much about some of the things that they might want to talk about when they get a little bit higher. We can certainly talk about a lot of things that can still bounce things off them, because they're still going to be playing up against quite a lot of bad players. And a lot of the things modern players aren't as good at as they should be is beating bad players, because they're not good at adjusting to bad players. They just want to use their standard lines against everybody. And yeah, I think just giving them a grounding and saying, look, against bad players, you don't need to be doing this or that or the other. You can just play super exploitably, check when you don't have it, bet when you do. This guy hasn't bet this time, so I'm going to presume it means he doesn't have anything, and I'm going to bet myself. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it at the moment. And I'm hoping that when the new website launches, I'm hoping my friends are going to do a good job of making it look how I want it to look. And yeah, I'm pretty hopeful that it can help me achieve a lot of my goals. I'm going to defend the ace-10 suited here. I'm not hugely fond of defending ace-10 suited based under the gun, but I am fond of defending it against players who maybe aren't particularly good. I'm going to start by calling here. We're clearly going to check call on the heart turn, and then we'll make a decision whether to check call on the river depending on what it is. I mean, obviously if we fill up and we hit 10 or a heart, we're going to go with it. And now it's just whether I want to bet or not. Can I get value for my hand? What worse hands can call here if I bet? And I'm not sure. I don't think too many worse hands can. I think we get called by better hands more than we get called by worse hands there. So I'm not going to bet, but I may well check call, because I think he's, without getting too technical, I think his range for bluffing here is going to be wider than his range for calling. So with that in mind, we are going to call. And that's exactly my point. He couldn't possibly have called with that hand. But he can absolutely bluff with it when I check to him, which is why I felt that check calling there was a way better option than check folding, than betting. It's a critical concept to understand that if you can't get called by a worse hand a decent amount of the time when you're betting, you shouldn't be betting for value. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we just have to check fold, and that was a very good example of that, so I'm pleased that hasn't come up. I'm just going to pause the video a moment while I find another table to replace the table on the left. So here we are back again now, and just to confuse you all, the table that was on the right is now on the left, and the table that was on the left is now on the right. I played some hands with 13 black last night, and just to test my memory, I think he just went all in an awful lot. I think I saw him get it all in with ace-10 offsuit for 100 blinds pre, just by open shoving. I'll check my note in a moment, but I'm pretty sure he's going to confirm that. But it could be a different player. Yeah, he goes all in a lot pre-flop. It's not a very good note, but it's all I had on him. I think he played maybe 30 or so hands, and He played a lot of them, and a lot of them involved him just going all in. So we'll be looking to call him particularly. Like my range of calling his all-ins were going to be kind of like pocket fives plus, ace jack suited, ace jack off, that type of thing. Not a super wide range, but certainly a lot wider than you would typically want to get it all in pre-flop with. I have no idea about NGE. I have no recollection of ever playing with him, and the same goes for Mizro too. NGE joining the all-in pre-flop party. I do have some reads and some notes on Torres. He's a regular. No offence to him, he's probably maybe end up watching this video at some point. He's not a particularly good regular. I don't want to give too many more reads away from that, because I will be making a lot of videos in these games, and I don't want to be giving all my reads away. I found that when I was making a lot of 13 snap videos, I had a lot of people were watching them who I was playing against, and yeah, I think it's certainly eroded my edge somewhat. I don't want to be giving my reads away against regulars in these games. I'm happy to comment on them, but I won't be saying too much about them in terms of how I intend to exploit them. If anybody does have a question about a hand, they've seen that I don't think I've explained very well because it's been against a regular. There's plenty of ways to get in touch with me. You'll see the ways you can get in touch with me in the comments section on YouTube. You'll also see you'll be able to ask me questions on Reddit, PM me. If it's a question about a regular, PM me it. I'd rather not answer it in a thread too. Even though I don't expect too many Sky Poker regulars to be on Reddit, there's bound to be some. So how is this left-hand table looking now? It's certainly changed a lot. Torres has joined. Red Setter certainly does appear to be a weak player though, so we can certainly stick around for the time being. Aguirre, never seen him before in my life. Red Setter, never seen him before now, but he does appear to at least be somewhat loose passive. So we'll start by tagging in green for the time being, which is my tag for weak player. And then we'll go from there. When we get a bit more information about how he plays, we might change it to orange, we might change it to light blue, who knows. That's another thing that you should absolutely be doing as a recreational player who's trying to take poker somewhat seriously. Note taking and tagging players. It's really important, particularly on a site like Sky that's got no way of tracking your opponents or anything like that. You need to do a lot of the donkey work yourself. So yeah, don't be afraid to do that. Wow, I was about to peel his under the gun open there with the 4-3, but unfortunately not. 13 blacks put paid to our little adventure there that we wanted to have. This King 10 wouldn't be a mandatory c-bet for me normally, but I just think Red Setter's going to have a calling range that involves plenty of worse hands. Pocket pairs, flush draws, who knows what else, just maybe some random high cards that he just doesn't want to float, he doesn't want to fall for one street. I think what I'm going to do here against NG, because I'm prepared to stack off here against NG. We have a stack to pocket ratio of 2. So I'm prepared to stack off against NGE, but I'm going to try and keep his range wider by checking, And I hope he bets now, and then I get more of a handle on what Torres is up to as well. Because if he bet and then Torres was raised to something, then I could probably get away from my 9s. But now, he's checked through. The 8's a pretty safe card. If Torres raises, he's just turned a set of 8s probably. he didn't, so yeah, we just pick up a small pot, and this is kind of the downside of having players like NGE next to you on your left hand side. It really it hamstrings you as to what you can do, in what hand you can open, in how aggressive you can be post flop. Because if you're up against guys who just have a stack to pot ratio of 2, and by stack to pot ratio I mean how much is in their stack compared to the flop, the pot. So over there, for example, go on, we're rooting for the club here. No offence, Torres, but we're rooting for the club. Oh, yes, does a job as well. What stack to pot ratio basically means is there was £2 in the pot. NG had £4 in his stack, so his stack to pot ratio, his stack is 2 times the pot. So that's just what a stack to pot ratio is. Nothing more complicated than that. You sometimes see people on the forums expressing it as SPR rather than actually using the whole term. And our friend Black just keeps on doubling, keeps on winning, which is clearly nice for us. Because having somebody who's clearly as erratic as Black on our left is going to be good news for us. The more chips he gets, the better it is for us. What I'm going to be doing with Black is you'll see me doing quite a lot of overlimping. And the reason for overlimping instead of isolating him, because normally I'll be looking to isolate the worst player at the table to try and get him heads up to myself. That's what isolation is. We raise to try and get other people to fold their hands, and then we hopefully get to play heads up, usually in position against a weak player. But against somebody like Black, who's just got this penchant for just going all in all the time, I don't want to be like constantly isolating to 80 pence and have him just shoving on me and me not being able to call. So I'm going to play very exploitably against Black, and I'm going to overlimp all kinds of hands against him. 9-3 suited wouldn't be, but that was in 9-6 suited. If Black limps, I'm limping behind because I just wanted to get to flops with him, and hopefully I'm going to be stacking him off. The best way to stack players like Black is just to play as many cheap flops in as possible, and then just hope to cooler him, or not cooler him, but cooler him in his terms. So like flop top pair against him when he's got a worse top pair, something like that. And that's how we're going to do it. So if we don't play many hands with him, we reduce our chances of being the guy that stacks him. The more hands we can play against him, the better. Unfortunately, at the moment at this table, we haven't had any kind of playable hand against him. Turnip, no idea about him at all, but I mean, when we flop as well as this with 10-9 suited, we're going to bet and we're not going to fall to a raise. I think the only question there would be, do we 3-bet over a raise or do we just call? That would have been the only question. And that would have been a sizing thing, I think. If he'd have made it pretty large, I think we probably would have 3-bet and got it in. Made it small, I would probably just call. Oh, and unfortunately Black's doubled up and gone. Turnip's led out here. I'm not convinced my 8's the best by a long way, but we have some backdoor equity, and we also could just have the best hand. By backdoor equity, for the record, I mean the chances of getting runner straight. That's what. If you ever hear people talking about a backdoor flush draw or a backdoor straight draw, it means there's a flops out and there's 2 cards to come, and you can hit runner to make your hand, whether that be a flush or a straight or who knows what. I've even heard people talk about backdoor full houses sometimes, which is a source of amusement to me. I'm going to sit out next big blind on this table on the right again, because I don't believe it's a particularly good table. So if I'm going to preach table selection to people, I better practice it in my videos. He doesn't see bet this board. I'm just going to bet 3 streets against him here. And if he's got a hand he wants to check call down with, well, fine, good for him. But when he doesn't see bet this board, he's going to be giving up an awful lot of the time. Or he's going to be like trying to somehow show his hand down. And I don't want to make it easy for him. And if it turns up that he's just like checking a king to me there, or checking a hand like ace, queen, 3 streets and calling 3 streets, I could just make a note and move on. But for now we're going to find another new table. So I'm just going to pause the video for a moment. So here we are, we're back again with another new table on the right. I'm going to go for about 10 more minutes on the video. So we probably won't get too much into having reads on any of the players at the tables, unless someone plays particularly badly right from the bat. So he checks the Jack 9x board. Time to bet for value. I mean, he could be check calling with worse pocket pairs for sure. He could check call with king queen there, something like that. No problem. There's ace king, ace queen. Who knows what he can check call with? Certainly plenty of worse hands I can call there. So let's have a quick look around this table once, see if any players that I know. MRC 101. I can't remember, I think I may have chatted, no it wasn't him, I chatted to, I think it was Sharky01 last night, and yeah, seemed like a nice guy. We didn't chat too long. I was playing a session on here and I was playing a session on Unibet too, so yeah, couldn't chat, but yeah, give him a shout out. No doubt he'll be watching the next video. Docker here is been in every pot so far. I think he's been in every pot so far anyway. So he's already shaping up to possibly be a weak player. So I'll certainly keep my eye on Docker for the next 10 minutes of the video. We flop a flush draw here. You could make an argument for leading out here on the king high board. In fact, no. I think check call is still going to be the best line. And he's just snap, I bet, whatever it was he bet there, it wasn't quite pot, was it? I'm presuming 3/4 pot. Didn't put any thought into it, which usually means he's either got a bluff or he's got a strong hand. Because people bet really quickly, it's usually premeditated. And now I'm getting quite nervous. But because I think it's a bad player, and because I think my 10s and my 8s are going to be live, I think we're getting too good a price to fold here. And unfortunately we break out, and there's a very good chance I'm just going to fold this river. And he's just gone bet. So I'm looking forward to getting involved in the pot with Docker. And my line next time I have a hand against him is going to be exactly the line I've taken there. Who knows? I'd love to have had just a little bit of information on him, because he just went bomb there super quick. And yeah, when people do that, I'm quite often quite suspicious. But I just don't know enough about him to make any big hero calls there. I didn't really want to be. I mean, I'd already put a quarter of my stack in. I didn't want to kind of go for 60% of my stack against an unknown player with just a hand as weak as second pair there on the river. But yeah, I'll feel a little bit queasy if he turns up in the pot where he takes the same line with a complete airball. But that's information. When we don't have it, we kind of so that's what a lack of information does. That's why it's so important to try and get reads on people, because that's when we're going to like have a bit of poker skill to utilise. It's by being more observant than your opponents, by trying to figure people out quicker than they figure you out. That's where a lot of your money's going to come from. It's where a lot of your edge is going to come from. Your win rate, call it what you will. Then we're going to c-bet here with 2 overcards and good shot at backdoor flush draw. If ever I'm going to c-bet bluff, which isn't very often against someone like red setter. If ever I am going to c-bet bluff though, that's going to be the situation I'm going to do it in. I just have a ton of equity when called. So I've seen Docker now, he's playing just about every pot, but he's not being aggressive in every pot. So I'm more inclined now to think that we probably made an okay fold against him. He is in, just about every single pot, but he's been letting them get to showdown relatively cheaply most of the time. But yeah, what I'll be doing, if I was to be continuing this session for a while, and I don't think I will be tonight, because it is currently midnight on a... Wait, I don't even know what day it is. Tuesday, going into Wednesday, is it? I'm not sure. Yeah, it is, of course. Of course, I know what day it is. So yeah, maybe I won't play too late tonight. But this is the sort of table that I wouldn't typically leave until people like Docker left, because he's looking like he's going to be the kind of really low-hanging fruit that we can make our poker pay against. He looks like he's going to be that kind of guy. So here we go now. He's betting a bit. Damn. So we're going to be trying to see Docker showdown. Let's see what he gets there with. Let's see what hands he shows down and how he plays them. I think it's already safe to... Docker, Middlesbrough. I get it. For those of you who aren't familiar with Middlesbrough, it's a port town in the UK in the northeast, and there are a lot of dockers that work there. Now, obviously, it's spelt differently, and maybe I'm completely misreading what his name means. But yeah, for me, it's to do with probably a dock worker, or has something to do with the docks, maybe. Or maybe it's just complete bullshit, and he just... Maybe I'm totally making that up, but I like it anyway. So what other sites do I play on? I have my money spread far and wide around the internet. I have my money here, which isn't a lot because I'm not a Sky Poker regular, not by a long way. I tend to play 20 and 30 NL here. If I was a regular here, I would play 50 NL. But I've looked at the 50 NL games, and yeah, they look okay. But they are very reggy. There's lots of regs in them, and I just can't be arsed banging my head against regulars most of the time. So I have money here. I have a little bit more money on Unibet, because the €50 NL games, they're pretty good. So maybe I have €600 on Unibet. None on 888 at the minute. I've got a withdrawal processing from there. And then it's where I'm going to put that money, because that's where the bulk of my bankroll was. It's where does that money go? Do I just keep it in my bank until 888 gets the shit together? Or, more likely, do I put it onto Sky Poker and maybe have, I don't know, 25 buy-ins for 50 NL and just make a run at it? I'm not sure yet. I'm really not sure, because I like Unibet too, so maybe just put it on Unibet. Maybe split it between the two. Who knows? I do have a program called Stack and Tile. It's a program that helps you multi-table. It sorts all your tables from multiple sites into one stack on this part of your screen, and then when the action's on you at any particular table, it pops the table out. It tiles them around your screen. You can't see it on here, but yeah, just say, imagine this screen was split into four. You would have the stack would be in this corner here, and that would be stack 1, stack 2, stack 3 there. And yeah, so I use that, so it helps me play multiple sites. The landscape's pretty barren at the minute. 888, Sky and Unibet kind of oscillate between the three. Primarily 888 until their very recent well, not very recent now, it's been going up for 3 weeks, until their recent connection issues. I wouldn't normally defend ace-8 suited, but I want to try and get some pots with Docker. I was hoping to get in a few pots in before the end of the video, but it's not looking like we're going to be able to do that. So yeah, maybe you'll see the next few videos I make when you see where my money goes. If I'm making 50 now videos on here, you'll know that my bankrolls come on here. If I'm not still making 20 now, you'll know that I just basically got my video making bankroll on here and nothing much else. So again, with similar situations before against Docker, we have a pair and we have some draws. It's checked back this time, which is interesting. We can't really bet. Don't make the mistake of betting there with your 9-7 when two players check back, because again, you need to bear in mind I need to get called by worse hands. Hard to get called by worse hands when you've got second pair moderate kicker. But that said, I am going to call Docker's bet here. And unfortunately, the boards are not really bad for us, so we're not going to be able to call the river. I was hoping to get to showdown with him. It might just be one of those frustrating situations where we always kind of get close to showdown and then end up just being forced to fold. Yeah, we're going to go maybe a couple more minutes just to see if we can't just get a hand against Docker. But yeah, the video will be winding up pretty soon. What do I know about Dave? Nothing. Which kind of suggests to me that he hasn't played many hands, because I haven't noticed him, so I think we'll let the King 4 suited go. I think when Mr. MRC check calls here, he's going to have maybe a Queen High, King High flush draw, maybe some kind of pocket pair with a club in it that's a pocket, like I've got kind of thing, like pocket tens with a club. Who knows what. I think the ace hits a lot of his check calling range. No, he's going to fold. Too like his value betting, and I don't beat anything from his value range. I was only beating bluffs there, and of course you can have some bluffs, but the board was not a good run out for me. Jack 7 suited is typically a hand I don't raise from this position, but it's certainly playable when you know there's someone like Docker in it, Docker kicking around who is going to give us plenty of action when we hit. Now this is a hand. This is a good situation for us. I'm just going to start by checking to Docker, because I suspect Docker might like betting more than he likes calling. That's a really unfortunate card. Clearly we can't fold. We have a flush draw and a pair. And unfortunately we lost to him again, which is kind of a common theme to end the video on. It's a very common theme. Keep losing to the player that we're trying to play tons of pots with, which is somewhat unfortunate, but it's going to happen a lot. Not a lot, but it's going to happen. Oh Christ, I want the full button. That's one of the reasons I don't put most of my bankroll on Skype Pocket, is the buttons don't work very well sometimes. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to play against these players that you just know, they're just, no offence to Docker, but you just know that they're terrible, and you're in a rush to stack them, and before you know it, you're down maybe 20 quid to them, and you don't know how. It's important not to tilt in those situations. It's important to just keep your focus, keep playing your game. They will screw up eventually. You will profit from them eventually. The only thing that will prevent you from doing that is if you start to play badly against them. Do not let these players turn you into a bad player against them. Just keep doing your thing, and just hope to be the person that gets the money against them. Yep, pretty miserable flop, but it is somewhat dry. No, I just don't think we have enough. We're not going to get two people to fold often enough on this board, particularly when one of them is Docker, who we know isn't a particularly good player. So I think we're going to end this session now. I may well go on and play for another 5 or 10 minutes, but I don't like my videos to be much longer than 45 minutes. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope some people can get on board with the direction that I'm taking, and do keep your eyes open for my website that's going to hopefully be going live in the next, hopefully the next 7 days at least, maybe sooner, who knows. I'm quite excited by it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've certainly enjoyed making it. As usual, until the next time, take care, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.